So anybody that wasn't a perfect fit for the business, we let them go. So we cut all of those unnecessary expenses, and we were just watching every single penny.
The stress is a low IQ response. And may not be true, we all get stressed out. But when you think about it, the answers to all your problems are usually something very simple.
But at the end of the day, if a client gives you $1,000 and you help them make 10,000, they ain't going anywhere.
Oh, I've been pretty much scaled my entire company using webinars. And so it's like the free webinar, and then I get them on something that's low ticket.
Yep.
And then on the onboarding call, use it as an opportunity for the upsell.
Perfect. So we go to the conference. Long story short, we ended up getting about $400,000 worth of business for the whole.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the A-Lister Show, where we bring you movers and shakers, entrepreneurs, people doing interesting things. And today we have another amazing guest. Today we have Chris Martinez, who is the CEO of Bloom Partners. And he not only has run and grown a successful agency, but now he helps other agency owners do the same. It's got a really interesting story, and I can't wait to dive into it. So how you doing today, Chris?
Good, man. I'll get to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I'd like to start off just by talking about a little bit about your background.
Sure.
What is it you do?
So today, every day is a little bit different.
Depending on what they have.
Exactly. So I launched Bloom in July of 2024, and it was kind of a rebrand actually. And we do management consulting for marketing agencies. I know it sounds kind of boring, but we focus on doing the boring side of running a marketing agency. Most of our clients that come to us, they're typically in the multiple seven-figure range, and they're just kind of stuck. Like deadlines are getting missed, balls are getting dropped. They don't necessarily know if they have the right people. Owners are working like a ton. Profitability isn't where they want it to be, and they see that they have the beginnings of an agency that they can sell for a big amount of money one day. But they're just stuck and they can't figure out how to get to that next level. And so that's where our team comes in and kind of run the business for them in some sense and get them on the right track. And then ultimately we want to get them to a position where they can sell for, 10 million plus.
Oh.
We have an M&A side. We're doing a deal right now. Can't say too much, but they'll get a really nice payout in the end.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right. So to recap, you basically help other agency owners do the boring stuff and the management stuff that maybe they aren't so good at to help them scale and possibly eventually.
Yeah. What I like to say is we're kind of like their interim leadership team, right? And so the goal is that our team comes in, but then we train people to take over those roles full time and we leave.
Oh, wow.
Right. And we still oversee and help them grow and provide guidance and strategic consultation. And we'll overlook the finances, make sure that they're making right decisions. But that, let's just say 1 million to 5 million range, it's a tricky place to be. A lot of the times people say, I'm working way more and I'm making way less, even though the revenue is a lot more. And it's hard. And most marketing agency owners never really learned how to run a business. They got really good at a technical thing or, we're getting good results for clients. And then before they know it, they've got this big team of 20, 30 people and millions in revenue. And then they're just like, shit, well, like, what am I supposed to do next? And so that's what we love to do and come in and show them how to professionalize the business and get things going and help them realize a big dream that they have.
Yeah. Let's rewind for a second. How did you end up to this point now?
There's a lot of, pivots, I would say. So, I'll start off by saying I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. I didn't have that many role models. I didn't have the connections or whatever. Mommy and daddy didn't give me a lot of money. I was very blessed to grow up in a household that appreciated education. But, kind of like when I do inventory of some of the challenges that I faced growing up, is very different. I know woe was me or whatever, but it's been challenging, and so that's caused me to have a lot of self-reflection and personal growth, right? But my first job ever was I was a paper boy.
Oh, nice.
This is back in the, I'm older than you. So this is in the late 80s, early 90s.
Did you ride a bicycle?
Ride a bicycle.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I played the Gilroy. Yeah, on the arcade.
So that was me. So this is back when kids didn't have to wear a helmet,
Okay.
right?
Were there seatbelts in cars then too?
There were seatbelts in cars. It was mandatory eventually. I remember when it wasn't mandatory first. And so I would ride my bike to school, and then after school, I would ride home and then go straight to the paper, drop off my backpack, and then go to the paperboy house where all the newspapers would be, and we'd go and like you'd have your route, right? So they'd give you a stack of papers. Maybe it's like, I don't know, 100 papers. You fold them, you put them into a bag, and then off you go on your route, and you're throwing papers. That's cool. Off your bicycle. And I was so skinny back then that the papers were heavier than me. So the papers were heavy, especially the Wednesday editions. They were really heavy. And so I would have to have somebody help put the papers on the front of my bicycles because there's a way that you would like tie them to the front of the bike. And if I wasn't sitting on the bike would flip forward, right? And then I'm trying to do this thing down this busy ass street. I had to cross this main street in Torrance to get to where my route was. And then I would, kind of like try and balance down the street. And a couple times I would fall and I'd be like crying. I was a terrible freaking paperboy. So I did that for a little while. But yeah, like my first real venture in business, I started a soccer magazine. So my dad died of cancer in 2007, January 10th, 2007. He had pancreatic cancer. So he's died, diagnosed and dead within a month. And I decided, you know what? I want to start this business. I decided to start a print soccer magazine. It's probably one of the worst times in history to start that business. I didn't know what the hell I was doing too. I was kind of young and arrogant and thinking, oh, I'll just figure it out. How hard can it be? And I was trying to do everything. I was writing, I was doing the photography, I was doing the website, I was doing all this stuff, thinking arrogantly that I could do it all. And long story short, I failed miserably. I personally made every mistake.
What was the name of it?
It was called FFI.
Okay.
It stood for Full Field Insider.
Okay. When I was younger, I used to do like referee soccer. So it's okay. Maybe I heard it, but I haven't.
Yeah, I loved soccer. It just happened to be the same year that David Beckham came to the U.S. to play for the Galaxy. So I had press passes. So I get to go to LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy. Yeah. This is when I was living in LA. And, it was a pretty good magazine. I was terrible at running the business, though.
I mean, you were like a kid.
Back then, I thought I thought shit. I knew I was 27. 27. Yeah, I was 27. So I thought I knew everything, but man, I made so many mistakes. So after that, I lost all my money, and then I owed a bunch of money to other people too. So I had to figure out like, what am I going to do with my life, and like, how am I going to get back on track? And granted, my dad had just died, so there was a lot of grief. Maybe we can talk about that later. But like, personally, I was going through a very, very difficult time to the point where I didn't know if I wanted to be alive anymore. Because at that time, business is failing. I'm super embarrassed. Dad's dead. I don't really feel like I have anybody that I can talk to. Just like just felt like super alone. And I didn't know if I could claw my way out of that. It's just, I've never been diagnosed with depression. But I can imagine that somebody who's in a depressed state must have felt like that, where you just don't see any hope. It's really, really challenging. And so eventually I was like, you know what? I don't want to give up. I want to keep going. My dad would want me to live. And so I ended up getting a therapist, and I could credit her with saving my life. And I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for her. And so I talk about this all the time with guys, especially guys that are kind of like my age in their 40s, late 30s, early 40s. Life gets really hard. Life is always hard. Never going to be freaking easy. But it gets really hard around that age. People that die. Sometimes like marriages break up. Obviously other people get sick, you have a lot of failures. And so men aren't really raised, at least in our culture, American culture, learning how to deal with those emotions. At least in my age group. I think younger kids actually have more self-awareness now, I think, than we did. Because I grew up in the time where it's like, stop crying, don't be a little bitch. I'll give you something to cry about, So anyways, I got therapy, and that helped me a lot. And so I was able to learn how to deal with a lot of these difficult traumas and emotions. And eventually that led me to, I needed to build a website for a project that I had. So I was like, I reached out to a friend and I said, hey, I saw that you built this website for your girlfriend. And at the time, at the bottom of the website, in the sidebar, it said powered by WordPress. I was like, hey, what's this WordPress thing? And he's like, oh, it's this thing that you can build websites on. And I was like, can you do it for me? He's like, no. He's like, you should learn it on your own. And I was so pissed. His name was Amir. I was like, you fucking dick. Like, why can't you just help me? I'm in a difficult spot. Why can't you just help me? He's like, you need to learn it on your own. And it was actually great advice.
He did help you.
He did help me. He did help me a lot, So I ended up, over the course of a weekend, I taught myself how to build a WordPress website, which is like a huge deal because I was never like a technical person. And so then that led me to build out a few more websites. And then I ended up wanting to learn how to drive traffic. And I ended up hiring a coach, Russell Brunson, who everybody knows from like ClickFunnels, right? Of course. He had a coaching program way back then. And so I paid one of his coaches. It was like $500 a month, which was like a ton of money back then. And they taught me about driving traffic. Back then, it was a lot of like very cheap banner ad traffic, promoting a lot of affiliate offers. That's kind of like how I started to learn about digital marketing. Then and I had gotten a job because I had to close down my agency or my magazine, and I had to figure out how to pay my bills and pay off this debt and all this stuff. So eventually I got a job in digital marketing as selling PPC services. So back then there was this company called Reach Local, and I ended up getting a job at Reach Local. That led to me discovering, hey, there's all these people that need websites. And I started a little marketing agency back in 2012.
Nice.
And it was like a side gig. So I ended up partnering with this guy who had a team in the Philippines. And I had learned about overseas staff. I think now we call them like VAs. And so I had my own little Filipino assistant back then helping me with whatever I needed help.
That was pretty forward thinking.
I know. It was kind of stupid too, though, because I didn't have a lot of money.
That was like before Tim Ferriss.
It was right around the time when Tim Ferriss pocket out a 4-hour work.
That was the first time I heard of it.
No, this is like 2011 or 2010.
Right.
This is when I got my VA, Barry. Barry was his name. He's still my friend on Facebook. And so then, it's 2012. I'm working at the PPC company at Reach Local. I come up with the idea for the agency. I partner with this other guy who's got another team in the Philippines, and we start an agency, right? We didn't even call it an agency. We call it a website company back then. And little by little, it started to grow. We had like a team of, I don't know, like 7 or 8 people. And then I got another job, ended up getting laid off. And I was like, this is a sign. I'm going to go with the agency full time. So over that year that I was moonlighting with the agency, we weren't taking any money out of the business. So after paying all the expenses and the staff and all this stuff, we had $15,000. I remember I had $15,000 in the company bank account. I was like, dude, we're so rich. And then I went full time, and then quickly that money went away because we started spending it on I don't know, stupid shit probably. And so we were making enough to pay myself, but I was paying myself, I think at first it was like maybe $3,000 a month. And I'd been flat broke before, twice. So I knew how to stretch a buck. I was going to the 99-cent store. I rented a room to live in. I still had my truck. I still have the truck that I purchased way back then. I had this, Toyota Tundra that had a bunch of miles on it. Yeah, I can live very frugally. I have I don't need fancy things. I'm not a fancy person. So I was just making it work, and then eventually I moved down to San Diego, and the business was growing. And then in 2015, this is kind of like a pivotal transition. I had this team in the Philippines, and I was so sick and tired of staying up at night. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I bet you I can build a team down in Mexico, right? You live here, like TJ's right there.
Yeah.
And nobody was using Mexican talent back then. Right. It was very, very hard to find people. It was very hard to send money. So I decided, hey, I'm going to figure out, I'm going to set up a company down there. I'm going to figure out how to hire people. And so that's basically what we did. And initially I had a partner in my Mexico company, and we were going to try and replicate my agency in the US in Mexico, selling website services, Facebook ads, content to Mexican companies. Well, that failed miserably.
Yeah.
The problem with big business back then,
There's no budget. And
well, there's no budget and they didn't have recurring billing. So every month, the clients that we did pick up, we would have a gal at a machine punching in their credit card.
as in like, oh,
The auto billing, it didn't have auto billing.
yeah.
The other thing, they don't pay their bills on time.
Hmm.
So the credit cards would decline every single month. And then we'd have to hound them to say, hey, put money on the card. So we learned pretty quickly that that business wasn't going to work. But I had this great team that was very capable. So I started using them more for my US agency. And eventually we shut down the whole Mexican thing. But I kept those people for my US agency. And that US agency grew. We had over 220 clients, I think, at our peak. But another mistake that I made, we weren't charging enough, right? Because this is back before I knew about how to run the business. I was still very much like running it on feeling, And so I saw how much money we were making as a company and both me personally. And then I saw for me to be able to make the kind of money that I wanted to make, I was like, this is going to be so freaking hard. So I decided to come up with a different business that I would test out, an outsourcing company.
I'm curious real quick.
Yeah.
About your ambitions at that point. What was the kind of money that you wanted to make at that point?
At least 100 grand. So back then, I think I was making about 60 or 70 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and this is San Diego. This is, 10 years ago. So the cost of living was a lot less, but it wasn't a lot of money, and keep in mind, I'm 35 at the time and I'm looking at my friends. They're getting married. They're buying houses. Some of them are investing in other properties and stuff. And I'm still trying to build this business. And I'm, just a few years out from paying off all the debt from my first business. So I'm not a fancy person. I'm down to grind it out and find a way to make it work. But then I started the outsourcing company in 2017. And I was like, hey, I can charge more, right? And this is a need that other agencies have that nobody is fulfilling, right? The agency space, there's a lot of competition.
I'm sorry. So what was the need? The outsourcing to do different.
So just like I had needed talent to help me with projects, and I didn't want to use the Philippines and stay up till 3:00 in the morning anymore. I didn't want to use India, and I couldn't afford people in the US. I had this unique ability to find talent in Mexico. I was one of the only ones to do that back then. So I started the outsourcing company called Dude, and that took off really fast. And the biggest turning point is we went to the traffic and conversion conference in San Diego in 2018. All in, I think we paid around $11,000. It was a lot of money, but back then it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was a risk. The whole company, the Dude,
And you were there to be a vendor.
as an exhibitor. We got a booth.
Oh wow.
We got a booth. So the business itself, Dude itself, had grown to about 12,000 in MRR in a matter of months, right? Which to us, that was like really fast growth. And so we took 11 grand and we put it into that conference. And actually, one month of revenue, basically. You put it all on the line, right?
It's a lot.
But I believed in it, and we had already gotten some clients, and so we had some proof of concept. The worst thing that happened is a couple weeks before that conference, my number one project manager quit. So we had maybe 4 staff at the time. We lost the project manager, and this conference is coming up, and we've got all our money tied up in this conference, And so we're like, screw it, we're going to make it work. So we go to the conference, and long story short, we ended up getting about $400,000 for the business for the whole.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Was that did you close deals on site?
We closed deals on site, leads, and then we also developed some relationships for people that needed full-time staff in Mexico. And so within a matter of months, like one of those guys, I think ended up hiring like six people through us, which was a lot of money. I think their billing per month was like probably 20,000 a month, just from that one client. And so that grew. And so we went from 4 or 5 staff to like 29 staff in about 9 months. Yeah. Again, though, not very profitable because they didn't know how to run the business. And so we kept growing that business. I eventually learned how I did a coaching thing with Russ Perry, who started Design Pickle. If you know you.
Yeah.
So I met Russ, kind of became friends. He was expanding in Mexico, so we would share ideas about that. And then he had a 12-week training program. I paid him the money in December of 2019. And then I ended up going out to Phoenix to his office on a whim. He's like, hey, I'm wrapping up this other group that's basically finishing what you're about to start. If you want to come out, you can just sit in and get a head start. And I was like, okay. So I drove all the way out to Phoenix. I think I probably stayed in a Motel 6 or something like that. And I go into this class with Russ and all these other people that knew each other. And the first thing that he starts to talk about is the finances. And he shows me like his margins. I don't even know what the heck a gross margin was. So he pulls up this spreadsheet and I'm like, wow, this is like exactly what I need. And I saw his numbers and then everything just clicked. I was like, this is a math equation. The way that I'm running this business, it's never going to work. I have to raise prices. I have to reduce costs. So on the spot, in the room, I sent a message to my team. I said, any new clients that come in today, I'm paying, 25% more. Right. And then I said, we need to get these numbers down. And so we started, over the next few weeks, we started retooling the business so that we can improve our finances. March 2020, shit hits the fan and we have COVID and we lost 18% of our revenue overnight. We had to make a lot of hard decisions. And, we got through, March was easy. March was pretty much set. We got through April, right? May, things actually started turning around, right? We made a little bit of money. And then June, it just exploded.
Really?
Yeah. And 2020 ended up being the year that we broke $1 million in revenue. I made a lot more money, like a lot more money. And everything was going great. And then we scaled that business and we won some awards and stuff like that.
So for the COVID times, what was it that allowed you to experience growth during those times?
Well, one is we got really, really like laser focused on the numbers, right? So like when you have more money, then it gives you more options for making decisions. We also leaned out our team. So anybody that wasn't like a perfect fit for the business, we let them go. We cut them. So we cut all of those unnecessary expenses and we were just watching every single penny.
What about the businesses? What kind of businesses were you working?
There's no marketing agencies. Yeah. So back then, the outsourcing company only worked with marketing agencies.
Okay.
So what happened with marketing agencies during that time is that from March to April, there were a lot of people that went out of business.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything just stopped. But then coming around May, people were like, okay, this COVID thing is going to be here for a while. I got to get my business online. And then that's when the agencies that were still around, they started growing like crazy and they needed team members. So who are they going to go to? They're going to go to Dude. And so we just started staffing people like crazy, right? And then it just blew up. So at our peak, we had over 100 employees. It was a big operation. There's a lot of things that I had to learn. And I had some good mentors, but I also made a lot of freaking mistakes. And so 2022, we recognized that our business model that we had in the outsourcing, it most likely was not going to succeed much longer because of changes in technology and like basically our value proposition had gone away. We had already started doing some consulting with our clients, showing them how to run the business. And long story short, we decided, hey, we need to get out of this outsourcing stuff because it's going to die. And let's do the consulting full time. And so we started doing that, stopped taking on your outsourcing clients. And then 2024, we did the whole rebrand and we said, hey, Dude, it was a good run. We got to grow up. Now we're called Bloom. And so 100% management consulting. And then the other caveat is the M&A side of it, helping the agencies to exit, or if they need to acquire an agency, So it's been a lot, dude. I know it's kind of like a crazy journey, but everything flowed like a logical path. Like the agencies, like I started with the agency, then it was like, let's go into the outsourcing. And then I did the outsourcing and then I was like, started doing the consulting. I was like, okay, then we turned to do a management consulting company. Here we are today.
So one piece I'm curious about is how did you learn how to run an agency to the point where you can help other people? Because at one point you were doing the WordPress, but then you stopped doing that for like a decade or a while. And then, times change. And so between
Yeah.
when you stopped becoming an agency, when you started helping other agencies, a lot had changed. So where did like the context and your expertise come from so you can help other agencies?
I have always been involved in the agency world, so like even in the outsourcing company, we were still working with marketing agencies and we were still providing talent to be able to build out their projects. One thing that we learned through that company, which was kind of like the birthplace of our consulting, is that the marketing agencies themselves didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They didn't actually know, they didn't have good SOPs. So we were always very good at processes. That's one of the things that like, I think is one of our kind of like superpowers is that we were always very good at building out systems and processes. That's kind of I don't know. I think that's maybe a unique talent that I have. Like I'm not an amazing visionary like some people. But I could always figure out how to build a process, like a scalable process.
That's usually something that comes from people that have a corporate background, which you don't have. So did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
About that.
yeah. So in high school, I worked at Chuck E. Cheese.
Ah,
Amazing processes at that company, which I didn't recognize it at the time. Yeah. Oh my God.
on the outside, you see these companies, you're like, it's probably just some. Then you get inside, you're like, oh, this is actually run really well. But
Yeah. So I worked at Chuck E. Cheese when I was high school. So I got to see those processes. Straight out of college, I worked for a company called Pitney Bowes. It was a Fortune 500 company. I got in working in sales with them and I got to see that structure. And I became a sales manager. So I got a little bit bigger glimpse into how they run the business and all the financials and all that stuff. So I did have a background in that. That definitely helped. But I think just the way that my brain works, like I'm pretty obsessed with efficiency. So I love like breaking down things and figuring out how can we make this better without compromising on the quality. Um, so yeah, I've always been in the agency space, and after seeing what all the other agencies were doing, like I'm learning from them as well. Like, granted, I'm not the expert on everything, but I'm always picking up little pieces, and that's kind of the benefit of me having exposure to hundreds of agencies over the years, is I can see what's working and I can see what's not, and then I take the good stuff, and now I can use that to help another person, right? Um, and the other thing is just having mentors, right? So I mentioned Russ Perry was a mentor of mine. I worked with.
did you ever meet Russell Brunson?
I never met Russell Brunson.
Are you going to come like in live?
No.
Oh, I'm going next week.
Are you really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My first time, and it's gonna be the last.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see. I've never been a huge fan of Russell Brunson. Maybe he's a nice guy. I don't know. He's one of those guys that I want to meet on the mat. Let's just see what happens.
He's an OG.
He's a wrestler. He's a wrestler. Yeah, he's the wrestler. And I've heard that he's a jiu-jitsu fighter or that he's done jiu-jitsu.
He's like there's like videos of him rolling jujitsu and stuff.
I've never seen those.
Yeah, he still does wrestling competitions.
Yeah.
He's like in his mid-40s.
Yeah, I think he's either my age or he might be a year younger than that.
I'm seeing Tony Robbins is gonna be there too.
Yeah.
That's so much fun. Have you ever seen Tony Robbins?
Not live, but obviously like I've read all his books and
I tried reading some of his books, but they're so dense. I tried reading a couple of them. It's like, this is so much stuff. But I saw one of his things live once, back when The Secret was a thing. Do you remember The Secret?
yeah, I read it when it came out.
Yeah, me too. And then I went to this thing in San Diego at the sports arena, and it was such a wild experience. At one point he had the entire stadium like jumping up and screaming and like a rock concert. Like it was wild. And I just can't imagine what I'm looking forward to having that experience again. It's gonna be fun.
You should go into it with your entrepreneur marketing hat on too.
Oh yeah.
'Cause that's the other thing is like you can learn so much just by going to events and seeing these successful people and how they operate. Don't just see what they're seeing on the scenes or what they're doing on the stage. Look at all the stuff that's going on around them,
Oh yeah.
right? What I love, I went to an event that was here in San Diego last year, or the year before. It was called Thrive, I think. And I didn't know anything about it. They had, it was a $47 ticket. And of course, I had to upgrade to the VIP, the lunch and whatever. And so I just kind of like watched and observed and like listened to some of the speakers. The pitch the main guy gave from the stage was amazing. I had not seen people rush the stage to sign up like that in a long time.
So question, I've been to one of these I went to a Grant Cardone event once. I saw him, like, I knew nothing about this guy, and then, I'm following him on Instagram or whatever. This is like, it must have been 2018 or something around that time, and then one day he, uh, had an event, and it was, like, right down the street from me,
Okay.
and I'm like, "Let me go check this out," and sure enough, I didn't know what to expect. I don't know anything about, like, Sled on the Stage. I don't know anything about that whole world, and sure enough, like, within, like, 30 minutes, he's, like, getting to his pitch about a $10,000 book and, like, ebook or whatever, and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" And then, like, at one point, he started to, like, pitch it, and then, like, there was a big rush of people, like, running to the back, like, maybe, like, 15, 20 people rushed to the back, and I'm like, "What the hell's going on? These people are really gonna spend $10,000 right now?" Like, I had never purchased a coaching package. I didn't know anything about coaching. I was a W-2 employee at the time,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Which that was incredible, but in hindsight, I'm pretty sure they were, like, actors.
They will sometimes seed the audience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past Grant Cardone to have planted people in the audience. You rush the stage. That is the kind of guy that would say and do anything to make a dollar. Um, which he didn't try to do all these. They do each their own, to each their own. Um, Typically, you won't see that high of a ticket on a cheap or free ticket,
Mhm.
right? Like if the admission is free, you're not going to see a huge $10,000 offer.
Right.
So the offer, and there's some formula, I can't think of what it is. The offer that the guy pitches from the stage is going to be a multiple of what the ticket price was to come, right? So like if people are paying $250 to be there, most likely you're not going to see a $20,000 pitch.
Mhm.
You might see a $997 pitch or a $1,500 pitch from the stage because it's just too big of a jump. You know what I mean? I was in an event in Orlando and the ticket was $300, I think, for the general admission. And VIP, I paid VIP. I think it was like $700 or something like that. Always get the VIP, by the way. If you have the chance, do the VIP. You'll meet some really, really good people that way.
I did VIP for this, for Funnel Hacking Live.
Did you?
Yeah, it's still important to get the extra day with, Dan Kennedy.
Oh, I met Dan Kennedy a long time ago.
He has a whole, like, Dan Kennedy day I'm looking forward to.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Dan's an OG. He's a great copywriter. I just wish he took care of his health more. Yeah.
So Orlando.
So yes, Orlando. It was a $300 ticket, and then they made the pitch from the stage. It was $3,000. And it was like a crazy good offer. So you'll if you pay attention to things like that, you can learn from those people, and then you can use that for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So when we were talking about, how do you know how to do these things? Just pay attention.
Yeah.
Learn from other people. Take notes. Like attend stuff. Get out of your comfort zone. Talk to people. Obviously, find mentors. That's the way. Like always trying to figure out a way to learn. So let's see.
I like that, that idea about, the price is gonna be a multiple of what they paid to get in. That's kind of the approach that I've been taking with growing my business. So I've been pretty much scaled my entire company using webinars. And so it's like the free webinar, and then I get them on something that's low ticket.
Yep.
That's easy entry. And then on the onboarding call, use it as an opportunity for the upsell.
Perfect.
It's perfect. That's exactly the pretty much like that same thing. And I don't really see a lot of people doing that. But yeah, what was I going with that? But that's kind of what I've been working on. Let's get back to the agency stuff. I want to know more about some of your experience there. So, um, you've worked with, how many agencies would you say you've worked with over your career?
Over 200 easily.
Okay.
Over 200.
And out of all of them, what do you think one of the biggest mistakes that they make is?
I love this topic. The owner. The owner is absolutely will make or break the business.
Hmm.
There's nothing else. There's nothing that comes close to that. It's the owner.
To describe the worst owner to me. The worst type of.
Arrogant, egotistical, can't give up control, not willing to hold himself accountable, is not disciplined, not willing to listen, not willing to change. Right? Like you have to be willing to reinvent yourself as an owner over and over and over. And that requires a level of humility. if you have to be the man and you have to be in control all the time, you will hit a ceiling, right? Most agency owners like that never break 7 figures. Definitely don't ever break 2 or 3, right? Don't ever break 2 or 3 million bucks in revenue, right? I think it's a stretch if they can get there, right? They just get stuck because getting that level requires that you essentially recognize that you suck and you're willing to scrap everything that you've learned and start over again.
Mm-hmm.
And some people aren't willing to do that. Some people aren't willing to say, you know what, I am incredibly undisciplined and I can't focus and I have to figure out why that is. Maybe that means getting an executive assistant. Maybe that means taking medication. Maybe that means going to the gym or doing something like jujitsu, where you can finally develop these habits of discipline, right? A lot of people aren't willing to do that. Everybody will say, I'll do anything to hit these goals. That is bullshit. You heard me say that at my event, right? Everybody say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. That's fucking bullshit, right? Okay, cool. Stop watching TV. Stop spending 9 hours a day in front of the TV on Sundays during football season and work. Go to the gym. Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning before the kids are up. Go to the gym. Go see a therapist because you got all this shit running around in your head. It's keeping you from reaching your potential. Go do that. When you ask people to do that, you see who really wants it, right? Because it's easy to do something that you've already been doing that you actually enjoy. Let's see if you can do something that you hate. So like, I think, is it Gary Vee who always says, double down on what you're good at, which I agree with.
I'm not sure.
I think it might be Gary Vee. To an extent, you do need to focus on the things that you are good at, right? But there is another element where sometimes you do have to dive in and fix some shit that's broken with you, right? If you ain't willing to do that, I'm sorry, man. You've reached the end of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times you have to become the person. It's not even about doing the things. You have to just become that guy.
Yeah, totally. That's what I say is like, stop asking what you need to do. Start asking, who do I need to become? That CEO, this is the thing, is you become that CEO or founder or whatever. You become that person before you actually hit the number. Just like in jiu-jitsu, right? You're at the black belt level before they give you the belt.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, I'm going to give you the belt and then you become the black belt. No way. You put in the hours on the mats, you grinded, you fought through battles and injuries and whatever. You earned that black belt probably months before they actually give you the belt.
Yeah.
It's the same with business. You have to become that $100 million CEO who has the $100 million CEO skills before you actually have the $100 million business. Too many agency owners, too many business owners in the agency world are saying, well, once I get to 10 million, then I'll start learning about finances, or I'll start learning how to build a team, or I'll learn how to, delegate better. I hate to break it to you, you're never going to get there, right? You have to figure out how to reinvent yourself there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the tactical things that people can do? So one thing that Alex Hormozy talks about is there's a lot of these things that it's hard to, let's say if I tell you to be patient, you may not know what to do. But if I said, okay, if I described what being patient actually looks like, then you can take the action. So be more charismatic. What is charismatic? Well, smile more, say people's names, shake their hand when you walk in, and hold your head up high. Yeah, and all of a sudden people will call you charismatic. So what are some of the things that people can do to start to become that person?
Well, let's start to define. Yeah, I was gonna say let's define, because there's an element of it where I don't want to change you or try and mold you into somebody that you're not. If you're not this, ball of energy that when you walk in the room, everybody wants to be around you. If that's not who you are, then it's pointless for me to try and turn you into that because it ain't going to work. Right. And by the way, you can absolutely be a successful business owner being an introvert and not being this like super charismatic person. The majority, if you look statistically speaking, the majority of super successful CEOs are actually like engineers or finance guys. They're not the Steve Jobs of the world or the Elon Musks of the world or whatever. They're very like reserved, normal people, right? Those people just don't make it in the media. So the biggest, I would say, like the most important thing is like emotional intelligence and being able to control your emotions under pressure. I grew up as a soccer player. I've been playing soccer for 40 years. There's a term that we used all the time, and I never hear anybody say it anymore. It's composure. Keep your composure. We'd say it all the time. Because in soccer, as a kid especially, it's very easy to let your emotions get the best of you when you start to feel pressure, right? And then you make really, really dumb decisions. So if we were to say, what does a successful CEO look like, kind of like holistically, regardless of the personality type or their unique strengths, it's their ability to keep control of their emotions when shit gets fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that everybody can develop, by the way. I don't care if the doctor says you have the most extreme form of ADHD that known to man. You can develop those skills. So whatever happens, you're under control. It's okay. And maybe in reality, inside, you're freaking the fuck out. But on the outside, cool as a cucumber. No problem. We got this.
Yeah.
Right?
I heard a really interesting thing recently, and I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but it's just interesting thought. It's stress is a low IQ. Stress is a low IQ tactic, or stress is a low IQ activity. What is it?
Really response.
Yeah. So yeah, stress is a low IQ response, and like may not be true. We all get stressed out, but when you think about it, the answers to all your problems are usually something very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
And it's just that we don't like the options, and we just have to like think of what those things are objectively. And so as soon as I heard that over the past few weeks, I've been thinking like, if I get stressed out, I think, well, stress is a low IQ activity. So what does that mean? That means that my choices are very simple. I just have to choose objectively choose which choice is going to be less evil or like the less.
I love that idea. That's amazing.
Correct.
So I took sports psychology in college, and one of the things that I'll never forget is he said that there's two types of stress. There's eustress and there's distress. Eustress is EUSTRESS. Distress is what we know, DIS. I think there's two. It's DISSTRESS. Distress is kind of what we think about when we think of stress, where you're just kind of having a burnout, meltdown moment, right? That's negative stress. Eustress, though, is that type of stress that fuels you to go further and to just go longer than you thought you could go, right? Like think about it, like competition. Yeah. Think about when you're if you're at a jiu-jitsu competition, right? And you're training and you're pushing your body and you're like, I'm ready. And you get on the mats and you feel good and you're ready to go out there and kick some ass.
It's the greatest feeling.
It's the greatest feeling, especially when you execute.
You go out there, get submitted in 10 seconds. If you go to Vegas for a tournament and you get knocked out in the first round, been there, done that.
And that feeling. Distress, though, is the opposite, where maybe you go to that same tournament or you go to a tournament and you can just see it in your face, or sometimes you can see it in your competitor's face. They're like, shoulders are slouched. You can see there's maybe have like 1,000-yard stare, just nervous. Like you can see it in somebody's face. I love it in sports too. Like you can see it. We'll see it this weekend in the Super Bowl. You'll see it in somebody's eyes if they want to be there or not, right? That type of stress, that distress, burns you down. The beauty is that you can control where your point of distress is at. And a lot of the times that distress comes from lack of preparation and not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Right? The more you train for these very difficult situations, it's not a big deal. Right? Also, the more you kicked in the teeth, it's not a big deal when it happens again. So when I lost all my money the first time and, I was miserable with the grief, and I didn't have any friends because nobody wanted to be around me because I was so angry all the time. And I didn't know if I wanted to be alive anymore. And I got through that. And guess what? Shit's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like the second time I went broke and I got my truck repossessed, and I'd go beg my friend for money so I could get my friend out of the impound. I was miserable feeling. But guess what? I got through it. So if it ever happened again, it's not going to be that bad, you know? So through experience and failures, your breaking point or your ability to deal with stress, it goes up over time. If you do life right, if you keep pushing yourself and you keep failing and you keep bouncing back, eventually those things aren't going to be a huge deal anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why like having that experience or being a more experienced entrepreneur, those people can just get through things a lot faster. And I'm sure I'll face more difficult times in my entrepreneurial career, and it'll feel like hell at the time. And I'll be like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And then I'll get through it and I'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
not a big deal. Like I've been sued a few times.
Considered.
Yeah.
So the most stressful thing
Of course.
I've had to go through.
So if you get sued the first time, you're like, this is awful. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to get through this. But then after you get through it and you're alive and maybe you have to pay some money and maybe you don't, but then it's okay. I had to buy out a former business partner. I had no idea how I was going to make those payments. We had an agreement in our contract that said that if I missed the payment by one day, he would regain all of the equity after months of negotiating to get him out.
One day.
If I missed the payment date by one day, he would get all the equity. He would keep the cash. He would come back in and take over everything. One day. This happened during COVID.
Oh my goodness.
I just bought out the partner. We signed the paperwork in February of 2020.
Oh shit.
And I had no idea. And April, I was like, I don't know how we're going to make this work. How are we going to? I just spent months trying to buy him out. We emptied out the bank account to try and to start the payments for this guy. And then COVID hits. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it. But we figured it out. And eventually, like, we made all the payment. We never missed a payment, obviously. And when we made the last payment, it's an amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling. Like, we did that as a team. People would have looked at us and be like, there's absolutely no way you're going to make payments. And we made it happen. So now the next time I have to do that, guess what? It's not a huge deal.
One reframe I really like as well, if you feel like you're stressed out now, you feel like you're going through some kind of problems right now, but you have ambitions to become bigger and better as a business person or whatever, have bigger goals in the future, then the problems and issues you're experiencing today are very small in comparison to the ones that you're going to face in the future.
Yeah.
So if you do have big ambitions and if you're an ambitious person, and if you're feeling stressed today, just understand that you have to be able to take these on the chin because you're going to be someplace much, much bigger in the future. And this is just preparing you for that.
Yeah. I think the other thing that helps me a lot is through life experiences and challenges growing up, like, I can look at this, which it hurts in the moment. Don't get me wrong. And if you're struggling right now and you feel like, you're not going to be able to get through whatever it is, whatever challenge you're facing, I get it. I'm not discounting that. But I've known people who've really had struggles, and again, I go back to my dad when he died. Like, when somebody's sick with cancer and they're dying and there's nothing you can do, nothing else matters. I just want them to get healthy, So a few years after my dad died, I started mentoring a kid whose mom had cancer. She had breast cancer. He was only 13 years old at the time. So his mom had been battling breast cancer for 4 years, and we got introduced in June of 2012, the same year actually that I started my marketing agency. And long story short, she died like 6 months later. And I had to tell that young man and his sister that their mom was going to die. And he was 13 years old. So you think about what that kid had to go through, which was not his fault at all. What the hell do I have to complain about?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah. If we all were to throw our problems into a pile, if everyone in the world were to throw their problems in the pile, you'd probably take yours back real quick because you wouldn't
Yeah.
take anybody else's.
Exactly.
Another really kind of morbid thing I like to think about a lot of times is at the end of the day, we're just specks of dust on a big floating rock flying to the atmosphere.
Yeah, of course.
And you think of the greatest, most richest people that lived throughout history. I couldn't tell you their names. I don't know anything about them. And very soon we will be gone and we will be forgotten, and none of this will even matter anyways. And so just there's no reason to be upset about it. Yeah, sometimes I just try to reframe things like that.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Just, I'm the type of person, I like to joke around a lot. I try not to take myself too seriously. Um, I kind of laugh at people that take themselves very seriously. It's interesting in the entrepreneurial, I guess, Instagram world is you've got like these entrepreneurs that are like alpha male, like, you know, don't be a bitch. You're like, oh, I was watching a clip of Andrew Frisella, you know him?
No.
He created the workout program 75 Hard. You've heard of that one?
I've heard of this thing, yeah.
You're supposed to do a 45-minute workout in the morning and a 45-minute workout in the evening outside every day for 75 days. And there's all these other rules and stuff. Drink water and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of other things. No sugar, like good things that are good for you, obviously. And his content is always like, gonna man up. And like, to an extent, yes, I believe in that, right? Like, it's gonna be hard. But at the same time, laugh. Like, have fun. Like, you don't have to take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Like we're all, like you mentioned, we're just specks of dust floating through this vast universe. Like, let's just enjoy it a little bit. You can take a little bit of time off to sit back and enjoy life.
Yeah.
And try and make life happy for the people that are around you.
Yeah.
It's a balance, man. You got to find the balance.
Always. I want to go back, talk some more about the agency stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Tell me more about some things, some tactical things maybe that agencies like myself could do to continue to grow their business and have a more impact.
Yeah, let's go back to, and you heard this at my conference, but let's go back to what a marketing agency does, right? A marketing agency's job, your sole job, your number one priority is to make money for your clients. Don't make it harder than that. Get them results. And I know marketing agency owners will say, well, we can't control sales because, it's reliant on the client. And I understand that. Technology has made it more possible for you to be able to influence that sale a lot more today. But at the end of the day, if a client gives you $1,000 and you help them make 10,000, they ain't going anywhere. Marketing agency owners are falling too much in love with their technology and all the fancy stuff that they do. We need to get back to the basics and focus on getting results for the clients.
Yeah.
That has got to be the focus. So if whatever you do, whether it be ads, SEO, branding, design, webinars, at the end of the day, your clients have to make money.
Yep.
Right? That's the measure of a good product.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great product.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the most sexy thing in the world. I'm not selling this magic funnel or, this amazing system to generate sales or whatever. Stop trying to polish a turd and just have a very, very good product that makes money for your customers.
Yeah.
If you focus on that first, everything else gets easier, right? Too many marketing agency owners are trying to sell a thing that doesn't actually help the client, right? It's like trying to work out more to compensate for a bad diet. It's going to catch up with you, right? And unfortunately, it's completely destroyed our industry reputation.
Yeah.
So if you have a great product, whatever that is, that makes money for your clients, everything else in your life will get easier. You'll get more referrals. Obviously, you'll get more customers. Revenue will grow. People will pay you more, right? They're going to pay you a lot more, especially if you can take that $1,000 and then you say, hey, but if you give me $10,000, I can make you $100,000. They'll do it all day long. Escalate your clients because you're getting them results.
Yeah.
They'll do that all day long, right? So that's kind of like the tactical thing. I would say get really good at managing your finances. If you don't have a bookkeeper, get a bookkeeper and do time tracking so you can see where the resources are going. So I like EverHour. It's a very practical thing. Use ClickUp for project management, use EverHour, and then have your employees that are doing all of the fulfillment track their hours. So what's the beauty of EverHour? You can say, Jimmy is $7 an hour. Mary is $10 an hour. And then when they go in and they track their time, at the end of the month, you click a button in EverHour. I'm kind of simplifying this, but click a button in EverHour and it'll say Jimmy spent 20 hours with client A. Mary spent 5 hours with client A. It'll tally up all those hours and it'll say client A paid you $2,000 and we spent $450 on labor. Love it, right? If you hit that button, it says client B paid us $2,000 a month. and we ended up spending $1,250 on labor, that's a problem. We got to upsell that client or we got to drop them. Right. So it's really, really easy to make those decisions when you have the facts. Speaking of which, my book is called Facts, Not Feelings. I should have brought a copy.
Facts, not feelings.
You always want to run the business based on facts and not feelings.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where you have the data, you have the facts. Now you can make really, really good decisions.
Yeah.
So those are I would say those are the two most basic, simple things that people are not doing, but you have to do.
Yeah. Where do you think the industry for marketing agencies is going?
I love this question. I just had this question today with a private equity team because they were looking at buying an agency and they wanted to see what I thought. Like what things should they look out for in this deal? They're going to hire us to do an evaluation of the company. So there are a lot of marketing agencies that are going to go under because of AI automation. And it shouldn't be like that. The smaller agencies should be the ones that are leveraging AI first. They should be the fastest to adopt. Because what this does, it allows AI technology, if you use it correctly, it allows you to do way more with way less. Right? Let's just take content management or content creation. Right? We all use ChatGPT. Right? I don't know anybody who's not using ChatGPT. But I can tell you that the bigger agencies are doing it much more differently than the smaller ones. We build out an automation with AI where we can create 150 pieces, 150 articles, SEO optimized. The AI, word checkers will never see it. All the content is customized to the client. We can produce at least 100 articles in about 15 minutes. That's with a human going in and checking that the content is good. 15 minutes, 100 articles. Insane, right? Smaller agencies are not doing that. It's the bigger ones that are trying to do that.
Yeah.
That's just one aspect of it. You can use AI technology for account management, and you can have an account manager that can manage 20 accounts, and now you can help them manage 50, 60, maybe even 100 accounts with the right systems. There will be a company that comes out in the next 2 years that does everything that we do as a marketing agency for free. They're going to give it away. So I'll ask you this question next week because I've never actually asked this to an agency yet. If somebody started offering the exact same things that you do right now for free, what would you do? What could the AI not do? What could they not replace?
Well, operations.
Let's say if you do all the fulfillment. All the fulfillment is done by AI and it's free.
I mean, I'd probably have to leave the industry. I'd have to get a new job.
Maybe. Here's the secret. Here's the answer to that question, actually. I shouldn't say secret. AI cannot manage that relationship with the client. If that client knows you and trusts you, AI, until they develop a robot that can go out and shake a hand and make somebody feel safe, AI can't replace it.
See, I'll call that a trick question because I consider that part of the fulfillment.
Okay.
I thought about that. And I was like, everything that I do, including the relationship management, well, because some people may have a preference, just like back in the day, we'd like to pick up a telephone. Now, generation prefer to text sometimes, right? And we don't even like answering phones. And so you can see that as like a step down from the personalization that people thought maybe we wanted to value that human connection. When in reality, I don't want to be bothered. And some people may actually prefer not to have to deal with the human or what they may consider a salesperson or have to deal with pitches and being sold and this kind of stuff.
Just like there are some people that want to do their taxes, run their own taxes with TurboTax, there's a whole market for that. So those people that don't ever want to talk to people, that just want to like press a button and have the AI do it all for them, they're going to have somebody to work with for that. There's going to be a technology company that comes out and does it all, and it's free or it's $1 a month, right? Those are not your clients. The clients that you want, they're typically going to be bigger. They're going to be more sophisticated. Like me personally, I would never use TurboTax. I want to work with a qualified CPA that can say, hey, we should look at doing this, or you can save a bunch of money if you do this, So you want to work with the bigger folks that value the relationship and recognize it's not the best use of my time to do all this stuff. I'm going to hire somebody that I trust that can get me results, and they're going to do it for me. Even if it means that they're just pressing a button on this magical AI machine, right? That's where you come in. So like knowing how to do the technology now is important. You don't think that like, don't build your business on saying, hey, we do all this AI tech, because it's important now. In 5 years,
They don't care.
they don't care, right?
No.
It's the relationship. You start building that relationship and like taking care of people, like really take care of
Do
people.
you think maybe AI can get better at relationships?
Maybe.
Because they have these like, they can like preempt you. I mean, they can like, they know what your next feelings are. They're really good. They don't argue. There's no sarcasm, whatever. Anything you don't like.
It's possible, but I mean, we're talking about like, I'll tell you from personal experience, when I go to an event and I not only meet people, but I watch and I see what's going on, people are spending thousands of dollars to go and just hang out with their friends because they feel so freaking alone, right? If you take care of people and you genuinely care about them and you protect them and you make sure that they get what they need, I don't think AI is going to be able to replace that for a long time. Right. By that time, AI's killed all of us. Yeah. And they're running everything and we're gone. We're on some star in another universe.
It's certainly getting really interesting. You just look at how far we've come. I mean, with ChatGPT 3.5, like a year and a half ago or something. And now it's just, it's super interesting. Like, I love all this stuff. I just got the operator.
Oh, you got it?
Operator. Playing with that. It's a little slow and like the bot detectors don't like it, but it's pretty fun. They have the deep research. There's just so much really cool stuff. I can't wait. I want all that shit. I want my own Tesla bot. I want everything. I want it all. I want the chip in my brain. I want it all.
So you want to really don't go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So I love Star Wars. So I look at AI as one day I get to have my own C-3PO. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. It's going to change a lot of things, So like the other thing to think about with AI is that the information is everywhere.
Yeah.
So if all you're selling is information, well, guess what? You're shit out of luck, man, because AI is going to be able to answer that question a lot faster, and it's free, or $20 a month, or $200 a month if you get the operator, right? But it's the execution and the implementation and the relationship that it's not going to be replaced anytime soon.
Yeah. Just side note, I had a really cool use case. So I got some new equipment here, like that little thing you see right there with the red lights. Yeah, that's a new piece of equipment. And I didn't really understand a couple of things about it. So I took out my ChatGPT, which I have a hot button. So I just pressed the button that loads the voice AI thing. And then I pressed the camera button and I
showed it.
I'm like, hey, what does this button do right here? They're like, hey, how come this button won't turn off? And it's just like explaining stuff to me. And it's so cool.
You know what's going to be cool? So I don't know if you've seen the Ray-Bans.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. So I heard this from somebody very recently. I was like, this is such a good idea. There are all these plumbers, electricians that are retiring, right? It's like, I don't know if you follow Cody Sanchez.
Yeah.
So, all these boomers that are retiring and they want to sell their businesses, right? Imagine when you have a problem in your house or with your car, right? Instead of having to call a plumber to come out, or the electrician, or even a mechanic, you just call this number, you put on your glasses, and then there's a boomer that's sitting at home that's, wants to just be busy, right? They're still very capable, and they just walk you through what to do. And they can see exactly what you see. They're like, okay, grab that thing. No, not that thing. Right there you go. You got it. Right? Imagine having somebody in your ear walking you through how to fix all these things on your own.
Yeah.
And instead of having to pay, I had to pay a plumber the other day to fix a thing in my shower, $750. They can just do it as $25.
Yeah.
I've done the mechanic thing on the phone. This was a while back, where you get to speak to a master mechanic on the phone. It was like $50. And he told me exactly what to do, but he couldn't see what I would see. This is where they can see what you're seeing and then walk you through what to do.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It is.
Like, I can't wait for that to just be everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even doctors, right? You'll be able to put on the glasses. And, my wife did a telemedicine appointment the other day, or the other week, because she had bronchitis. He jumped on, he diagnosed her. Imagine one day, we put on the glasses and you can do a more thorough inspection, or like we're always getting hurt because of jujitsu. Like do this, how to put a pearl on your knee, and like, does that hurt? What does that feel like? And they could diagnose you like right there, and then give you the script, and you go and you can start getting fixed up.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
My wife is a software engineer.
Oh, cool.
Now it's cool. It was cool, but AI is kind of murk. So I have my clock is ticking that I have to build a business big enough that can support like our dreams and our financial like ambitions.
Yeah.
And so that she'll be able to quit comfortably.
Does she like being a software engineer?
She likes it,
Does she love it, or does she want to do something else?
I mean, as far as work goes, you know, she loves it. It's like a nice job. It's comfortable. She's good at it. She works from home. It's chill. Pay is good. So, I mean, do you ever like really like love your job? I mean, as far as like her work goes, she enjoys it.
I love what I do. I love my work. I think we're all fortunate.
Business owner, which is unique,
Exactly.
a unique proposition. But when you're working 9 to 5, I mean, some people you may enjoy like being a tour guide or being, a kayak, boat, whatever, instructor or something. You're like, that's fun, but
Yeah.
at the same time, a lot of times if you're just working for somebody else, it's going to be really hard to, have those ambitions met. I think, and everyone's different. Some people want to be a boat guide for the rest of their life. That's totally cool. But
Yeah, maybe, she'll find another passion that she enjoys doing. I believe that human beings were designed to seek fulfillment and to do stuff. Like I have this roommate in college. He was handed everything. And this dude was so miserable. Man, like he had no drive, he had no direction. And you're surrounded by other people that are doing things. And it was just so sad. Like looking back, I was jealous because it's like I'm working my ass off and you're just getting handed thousands of dollars every month to just do nothing. And I'm getting a third of what you're getting working my ass off. I was angry at the time. But now I look back and I'm like, I feel sorry for you, man. Like that really, really sucks to be in that position. So I think that everybody is driven to seek some sort of fulfillment. Like you got to do something. Like we as a human species, we are put on this earth to do stuff, right? To create and find something of fulfillment. I think that like being lazy and a bum and just like sitting around doing nothing, I think that's not what we were created to do. And so, like whoever it is, not just your wife, if the robots were to take her job, she'd probably find something else that would, be that fulfillment for her, another outlet.
Yeah.
And maybe she could use her software engineering skills to like do something else.
Well,
It's the reinvention part.
yeah, the goal is to have her come work with me.
Oh, cool.
And then, I mean, she's, obviously very technical, so she can help with a lot of cool stuff. She's always like tinkering in my business. She's like, oh, I made this little like app for you. I made this little bot for you. I made this little thing for you. So she's like always, what's funny is because she's an engineer, she's always trying to solve the problem as an engineer.
Yes.
Which
I like that.
problematic, sometimes, because like sometimes it works sometimes. And also like what's interesting is like, if you have a problem and you go to, let's say, a doctor that prescribes medicine, or let's say I have a problem and I go to a doctor, my elbow hurts. I go to the doctor and just like, well, we can operate on it. It's like if you go to a holistic doctor, they're like, oh yeah, we can like rub some sage on it.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone is looking through the world through their way of solving problems, which is really interesting.
Yeah, my dad was an engineer. So I didn't get that part of his brain necessarily.
Yeah, that's where your SOPs come from.
I think so. My dad had a PhD in physics, and he had a master's in math and a master's in engineering. He got a master's in engineering right before he died. So I do think that's that part of it. Like, that's something I'm blessed with. Like, got some of his brain. I think your wife would be a great addition, though, especially with what's going on.
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. It's a huge. My goal was actually February, but that's February's now. But it might not happen in February. But it hit me.
What's holding you back?
Money. She makes a decent salary, and also there's a level of risk in my business right now because it's only about 7 months old.
Yeah.
And so every single month we're doing better. We just had another record month in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so it's like, okay, February, like, can we beat that? Like, we're just very much in scale mode, and there's a lot of like risk involved. And even though now I like, make more than she does, but there's an element of like, will this continue? And but I had the realization like last month that I'm like, given the way that we're going, this will be the last year that you ever have to work for somebody else. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that's what's gonna happen this year.
I love it.
And I'm super excited for that. So
You're a little scared too.
yeah, I'm a little bit. It's good, a little bit. But that's how we got started. I met her in Brazil.
Okay.
I went down to Brazil. I sold a company in Brazil, and I had a iPhone repair business. So cool. While I was in college in Northern California. When I graduated, I didn't want to keep that business because it was a small business in a small town. I didn't want to live there. So I sold it to the manager and I moved to Brazil. I went on vacation to Brazil. It was supposed to be for like 6 weeks, and I ended up doing it for like 3.5 years or something like that.
Yeah. So you speak Portuguese?
Yeah, fluent. Yeah.
And your wife is Brazilian?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got into jujitsu and stuff.
As I said, you started training down there.
I started training in California.
Okay.
And then when I went down there, I continued to train a little bit. I got my blue belts from a very well-known guy down there, Terere, who actually is him and Andre Galvão. They're like, they trained together. And so that kind of just became part of my identity. And now I train, and then I came back to the United States, and then, continued training and stuff, and I got into fighting. But so what was I? So I say, oh yeah, I sold that business, and then I moved to Brazil. Totally forgot what I was. Did you ask me something? I don't remember.
Yeah. No, so, like, what was holding you up from essentially, like, the first question is like, what's holding you back from having her start? And you were talking about how you had this goal of having her start in 2020,
Yeah.
end of 2025, and like you're nervous about that. And
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but
it's okay.
yeah, but
We'll fix it in post. No, but that's so cool that you live in Brazil.
yeah,
I didn't know that. What part of Brazil?
how's Rio?
Rio.
Yeah.
So Brazilians either love Rio if they're from Rio, or they hate Rio if they're not from Rio.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah. Patricia loves it. But it's it definitely made me appreciate America.
Mhm.
It definitely made me realize, like, holy moly, we got it really, really good here. And we actually started I remember now. We started a business together
Mhm.
in Brazil. So I had my iPhone repair business and I sold it. And then I moved to Brazil, and I'm like, I'm gonna hang out here. My money's gonna last while we're here. And met Patricia, and I didn't want to leave her. And so until the visa went through and all that kind of stuff. So at one point she was making, so the salaries there are really, really low, right?
Yeah.
Like, she was making like 3,000 reais per month, which is the equivalent of like $500 per month. And that was a decent salary,
Right.
right? And she had a degree. She's a math degree. She was a teacher. And so she's making like 3,000 or 4,000 reais a month. And so I'm like, and I had started my iPhone repair business down there on accident. I'm like, let me just see if I can like make a little bit of side money. And so I posted some flyers and like some ads on some Craigslist type sites. And all of a sudden, like, running around Rio de Janeiro, fixing people's phones and like making decent money. And then I realized I had like a kind of a business going, and I'm like, you're my girlfriend. I'm pretty confident that I can make your salary, and like, you can come help me, and I could definitely, you'll be able to contribute more than you would cost, so I can cover your salary quite easily. So we started a business together while we're still like dating, and so that kind of became like the foundation. Like, we used to hustle together, we used to repair iPhones together, and it was so cool. So I want to get back to that, where we can help each other grow our business together.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool, special thing, to be able to work with your partner and just kind of hang out with the person, your best friend.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really looking forward to, is having her come back in the business and help me out, and hustle together and
Yeah.
have fun, build a little empire together. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
That's great. Yeah. I work with my wife. I've been working with my wife since 2019 is when she came in.
Nice.
Kind of by necessity. It's challenging, right? So like, there's an element of it. I'll just start with the bath. If you guys have an argument at home or at work,
Yeah.
guess what? You can't get away from each other. That shit's gonna carry over into your personal life.
Yeah.
And that can make the relationship very.
My sister said at one point, it's like, we were having a great time, and my sister at one point, she said, don't you guys get sick of each other? And like, the question has confused me. I was like, no, like, we get to spend time with each other, and like, and so it's just like the frame and the way you think of it.
Yeah. So my experience is we have a lot of fun. It's great building stuff together. But unfortunately, like the hard times can be extra hard.
Sure.
You know, it's hard enough to get away from the business as an owner as it is.
Yeah.
But then when there's two of you guys that are both stuck there, especially like when you start having like financial challenges or whatever, it's very, very difficult. But the good part is that like, who else would I trust more than her? Like if things are going bad and I feel like everybody else in the world, if they know what's going on, they're going to leave. I know that she's going to be there for me. That's why we're man and wife, a husband and wife, because we promised that we would be there together through sickness and health. So that's the positive. I think the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. It is challenging. I feel like we need to have a support group just for agency couples that work together.
Probably. One of my mentors is actually his wife has a podcast for women, for wives of entrepreneurs. This is kind of like another thing too.
Yeah,
They have their own support groups.
We actually put on an event for agency owner husbands and wives. It was the first time we did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Profit and Partnerships.
Oh, okay.
So last year we did it in Puerto Vallarta, and it was awesome. It was an all-inclusive, and it was great. My wife is going through the green card process right now, so she can't leave the U.S. So we're doing it this year in Palm Springs.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just 3 days where we get to hang out and have fun, and not really any work talk whatsoever. And we're going to talk about work because businesses, but it's really just to have fun and just get to relate to other people.
Yeah.
Because like especially agency owners, I think it's a uniquely isolating business because you're typically working at a computer. I work from home. And if you don't make an effort to get out and socialize and meet other people, you're going to be stuck in your little office block
10 by 10.
Yeah, you're 10 by 10 or you're, whatever. And you're going to have like zero outside contact with the outside world. Yeah. So yeah, it's important to get out and meet people.
Okay, so we're running out of time here.
Yeah,
But I want to ask a couple questions. What advice would you give to fellow agency owners stuck below $100,000 a month?
I mean, kind of already answered this. Focus on the product. Get your numbers right and work on yourself. It's really that simple, right? Like at that stage, at that startup stage, it's one of the hardest stages because you're trying to just survive to the next day. You don't really know you don't have product market fit yet. Depending on what your skill sets are at the time, maybe you're not good at selling, maybe you're not good at people management. You don't have a lot of money, right? So that you're just wearing a lot of hats. But again, if you focus on having a great product, it's going to make things a lot easier for you. So those are like the biggest tips.
What kind of programs or how does Bloom Partners help other agency owners?
So like, what do we do? Like, what do we sell?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing that we do is we do a business analysis. So, think about it like you go to the doctor and they do like the full blood panel and maybe they do like a MRI scan and all this stuff. That's kind of like what we do for our clients. So they come to us, we look at their team, we look at the performance metrics that people are measured by, see who's there, who's missing, maybe who's in the wrong seat. And then we'll look at their numbers. So they have to give us 12 months of P&Ls, at least 12 months of P&Ls. We'll go through all their numbers and figure out like what's going on in the business. Ultimately, we have to look at the root cause of the problem, right? So you use the example of your elbow, right? So if you have a broken bust up elbow, why is that happening? Especially if it's a recurring problem. So in an agency space, it's like, we're having our revenues flat, right? Or our profitability just dropped off a cliff. Or we keep having these peaks and valleys where like, things will go really good and all of a sudden they fall off a cliff, and then we'll recover and then fall off a cliff. We got to figure out why the heck that's continuing to happen. And a lot of the times the agency owner thinks it's one thing, but they're actually looking at a symptom. They're not looking at the root cause. So that's the first step that we do. We do that. I can tell you the price. I mean, it's $2,500 one time, money back guarantee. That price will probably go up. Depending on when you're watching this, the price may have gone up. But it's $2,500. And, if the person doesn't see value in it, we give them the $2,500 back. As long as we make a lot of money off of that. But it's truly to see if that's somebody that we can help. And then they can take that plan and implement all the changes and improvements on their own, or they can talk to us about working with us. If you're under $1 million, it's a very strong chance that we're going to push you into our incubator program, which is online learning, community. You can email us questions, join our group calls, attend all of our live events. You just don't get the one-on-one support just because there's a lot of things that you have to figure out as a business owner. Once you're above $1 million, definitely into that 2 million range, then you qualify for an accelerator, and that's essentially where we come in and run the business for you and put the team in place and all that good stuff. It's a lot more hand holding. And those are the ones that we want to help grow, and maybe one day we invest in them and take equity, and when they're ready to sell, we make millions of dollars.
Nice. Okay. Couple more questions I'd like to end the podcast with. One would be, if you could put a billboard up in Times Square where millions of people can see it, what message would you want to share with people?
Just be a good person. That doesn't have anything to do with business. Just be a good person. And that's one thing that we look at with our clients too, is like, are you a good person? Because, I'm 45, I'm old in this industry. I've been doing this a long time. I want to work with good people. And I think that there's just too much glorification of people that do bad things because they want to make money. At the end of the day, no amount of money is going to bring back the people that you love if they die, Life is a lot more than money. And just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean that you're a great person. So that would be my billboard. I hate Times Square, by the way. It's a terrible place. It's terrible. That's like my hell.
Okay. And then one last one is, I want to end with the challenge that you can give other agency owners. So what would you challenge agency owners to do to improve their business or their life?
Oh man, there's so many different ways that I can go with this. The biggest issue that I see with agency owners, and I think it's part of the challenge with creatives, is discipline. So the challenge that I would give you is, if you've never had discipline, or if you say to yourself, I don't want to be disciplined, get some discipline. So like Jocko had a podcast where he talks about these, like, some guy asked him, like, what do you do to stay healthy in your 40s? And he said, lift weights, do jujitsu, stop drinking. I don't know if you've seen that clip before. I'm in a different algorithm because I'm older than you. That's kind of it. It's like, do something physical that challenges you and gets you out of your comfort zone. Whether that's jujitsu or going to the gym. I don't know if people still do CrossFit. Maybe that's that. Do something that moves your body every single day and gets you doing something new out of your comfort zone. I don't think that there's any substitute. I mean, obviously we know scientifically, like, it produces a lot of endorphins. But psychologically, like, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see like these muscles that you didn't have before, you're like, man, I'm badass. Like, I was a very skinny kid, by the way. When I graduated high school, I was this tall. I was 6 foot tall. I was 135 pounds.
Holy.
I weigh, like, right now, I typically walk around like between 210 and 215.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I graduated high school with. Well, I wrestled at 133. Okay. But yeah. And I've been struggling to put on weight. I'm eating like a mother and I'm lifting heavy for like a long time.
Yeah. Enjoy this time while you can, because when you get your 40s, the weight just doesn't seem to come off the same way. But yeah, I was super, super skinny and I always wanted to put on weight. And so I ended up, I would lift weights, but I ended up tearing my Achilles tendon in 2010 playing soccer. And then I couldn't play soccer for a year. And I would go to the gym and I just started lifting like a madman, just like doing like triple days in the gym. And I can work hard. Like, I have no problem pushing through pain. I have a very high pain tolerance. And so I disappeared because I was recovering from the injury, and I just, I wasn't going out to the bars because I get worried, like, I get pushed over and I can hurt myself or whatever. But I go to the gym and I saw my friends. We went on a bachelor party to Costa Rica.
Obviously no leg days though.
No leg.
Unless you're like doing one-legged.
Yeah. So eventually I started doing like the seated down treadmill or bike. But yeah, I went on a bachelor party with my friends and down in Costa Rica, and I took my shirt off because we were going to the beach, and they're like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like, are you on steroids?" I was like, "I just been lifting a lot," and it was interesting. I wasn't 135 pounds prior to that. I was like 175, 180. but I shot up to like 205, 210 from lifting. And it was really interesting the way that people treat you when you're bigger. Because maybe it was just me. Maybe it was like that I was like, perfect example. I go to the bar and people will like be dicks to me, like
Before?
when I was skinny. They would like get in my way and like talk shit. And then I walked in there and I got these freaking arms that are just like bulging out of my t-shirt. I didn't know how to fight, but and people like move out of my way. And like, I'm not saying that's good, and I'm definitely not saying be a bully, but I felt more self-confidence. Like I felt like, wow, like this is different. Like I kind of like this feeling. I felt more powerful.
Yeah.
And for me, somebody, like I was dealt with a lot of like physical abuse when I was a kid. Somebody who experienced that, like that was very, very, that was a big moment for me.
Yeah. I could imagine.
So yeah, bottom line, go to the gym. You're not working out, lift weights, do jujitsu, do something, get your ass and like moving around. That's the other big piece of advice that I got for you.
Awesome. How can people get a hold of you?
Our website, bloompartners.io, is the best way to get in touch with us. Go buy a copy of my book, Facts Not Feelings. Facts Not Feelings. You can get it on Amazon. You can come to our events, agencyfreedomlive.com. And
If you're in San Diego, you can
come to the meetup. Yeah. So we do a San Diego agency meetup every month. And we got the next one coming up on Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday. So what else was I going to say? Oh, my Instagram, Chris from Bloom.
Yeah.
I try to post funny stuff and also helpful business stuff. Lots of puppy stuff. My social media is not nearly as good as yours.
So if you like puppies,
Yes,
follow
Chris, guys. Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you. This has been another episode of the A-Lister Show. Follow, subscribe, all that shit, and also follow Chris. Thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate you.
Man,
Until next
awesome
time.
being here. Take care.